talking about everything and anything Dr. John Phillips wants to talk about in this next hour of the show. So enjoy, everyone. We have some special guests. And I want to ask Dr. Alfred really quick.
Sponsored
Again, how do
by
I
The Way
pronounce
to
your
My
last
Heart
name?
Incorporated.
Arambhan. Sorry, I think there's a typo.
Arambhan.
Yes, correct.
Arambhan.
Welcome
Okay.
to the Heart of Innovation. 60 minutes that could save life and limb with new breakthrough ideas and innovation changing the healthcare landscape. Brought to you by Patient Advocacy Group, the Global PAD Association at padhelp.org, in partnership with Reflow Medical, the pulse of medical ingenuity. Here are your hosts for the Heart of Innovation, Emmy Award-winning journalist and founder of the Global PAD Association, Kym McNicholas, and interventional cardiologist and founder of Save My Piggies Health and Wellness, Dr. John Phillips.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Heart of Innovation. I'm Kym McNicholas, alongside my amazing co-host, Dr. John Phillips. Today, we are continuing our exploration of groundbreaking medical technologies that are truly changing lives around the world. And we are excited to welcome a father-daughter duo, Alfred and Pooja Arambhan, the visionary founders behind IIV Health Systems in India. Their company has developed a revolutionary testing equipment for peripheral artery disease, poor circulation in mainly the legs. It's a condition that's reaching epidemic proportions across the globe, but particularly in India due to rising diabetes rates. As many of our regular listeners will know, we talk about peripheral artery disease a lot, but it's really interesting with this one founder of the company, Alfred. His journey into healthcare innovation really began with his own diabetes diagnosis. That personal experience sparked a mission to address the devastating complications of diabetes, particularly PAD, which can lead to amputations when left undetected and untreated in the early stages. And today we're going to hear the inspiring story of how Pooja and Alfred turned personal challenge into purposeful innovation and all of the obstacles that they've overcome to bring their life-saving technology to market. So we're going to get to them in just a moment, but welcome to my amazing co-host, Dr. John Phillips.
Hey Kim, how you doing? It feels like it's been a little bit, but the summer's moving
It
along, and
has.
looking
Yeah,
forward.
and
Looking forward.
I especially love, I'm surprised my eyes are even open. I had a call from one of your patients twice in the middle of the night last night. How great
Uh,
Dr. Phillips is, how exciting it was to meet a celebrity like
oh
Dr.
geez,
John
yeah.
Phillips. And Dr. John Phillips saved my foot. And I traveled all the way from Florida to see Dr. John Phillips. And oh, by
Well,
the way, did I tell you about Dr. John Phillips?
we that was an interesting case, and real quick, ultimately, you have to do what's right for the patient. Like we've talked about this, and sometimes you wonder, like, man, am I trying too hard because of X, Y, and Z? And we had a little bit of struggle for this particular during this case, but we got it done, and hopefully it helps. It's interesting though, because like with anything, necessity is the mother of invention, and our two guests clearly are inventors, entrepreneurs, but as you alluded to, Alfred had PAD and I believe lost a toe. And I think that kind of flipped the switch for probably him and his daughter, like, hey, we got to do a better job of diagnosing this and kind of raising the flag. And we struggle with that in the United States. And we have, I mean, all sorts of resources, and yet you've got India, which has billions of people, and folks are everywhere with very limited resources. So this is going to be a great show. There's so much, as we were talking about in the pre-show. There's a lot to talk about, and I wish we had a couple hours, but we should get rolling, I think.
Yeah, Pooja and Alfred, we really appreciate you being here. I know it's 11:30 at night over there in Mumbai, and we are excited to hear your journey because, the time difference makes a big difference in getting the word out there about what you guys are doing, but it's so incredible. And I think that ultimately in the future, I think there's so many different countries that could learn from exactly what you're doing. I think you are on the cutting edge in creating technology that is going to democratize the detection of PAD, because there's so many inconsistencies that we experience. I was just telling Dr. John before the show that we had 3 patients this week that were literally went undetected with their PAD. They were misdiagnosed. They had an ABI, which you put the blood pressure cuffs on the legs, you put them on the arms, you measure the differential. But especially for those who are diabetic, there are a lot of false readings on it, a lot of false normals. And these 3 diabetics came to me. One had pre-diabetes, but still, he's fluctuated back and forth. And one had type 1, but that's more of a bottoms up disease. These patients are actually getting blocked in their feet and in their lower calf. And with the traditional testing, it's just not working. And so we also find that from hospital to hospital, tech to tech, there is a difference. And what you guys are doing, which I'm most excited about, is you're literally involving AI to help with that diagnosis to make sure there's more consistency, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. And what I would like to say is that while our device is portable, because it is smart with AI built into it, the readings are not subjective. Okay, so there is a lot of faith and trust in the reading, and it doesn't therefore require medical training at all. And because it is non-invasive, we encourage patients to do the test as often as possible. Because like in my case, in a short duration of time, you will not realize among diabetics that how soon your pad can accelerate till devastating levels. Therefore, the more you check, and our software in the background actually helps see the pattern, and triages it along with your lifestyle, whether it is smoking you mentioned, whether it is alcohol, whether it is sedentary lifestyle, whether it is the diet or any other medication that you're taking. It helps you in the entire journey to make lifestyle changes as well as optimally use any medication that you would be thinking, including blood thinners, statins, and things like that.
So can you go back
Kym,
to the beginning? I kind of jumped in the middle there because I'm so excited. We just want to talk. We have so much we want to talk about, but I want to get back to sharing the story behind the founding of IIV Health Systems. The personal experience that led you to focusing on this particular technology versus any other innovation, any other genre that you could have thought about. It's PAD.
To make a long story short, between Paris airport and Dubai, where I was transiting to come to India, out of a seemingly small accident with a baggage trolley, my foot went gangrene. And the doctors decided they would have to cut me from the ankle down. And then the rest was miserable. I was 1 week in a Dubai hospital till I was flown into India after 3 surgeries and 13 years off and on the wheelchair. 13 years. I am now without half of my right toe. But this is something that could have been completely avoided. I was always checking my eyes for diabetic retinopathy, but nobody told me about PAD, including my doctors. And if I had only known that, I would have, and then later on in retrospect, I see that I had all the symptoms that a PAD patient has: shiny skin, loss of hair, pain under the thigh, and so that's how it was.
And coming up right here on the Heart of Innovation, I want to dive a little bit more into that. 13 years, Dr. Phillips. Oh my goodness, in a wheelchair. We're going to have to address that and talk a little bit more there, how he ended up, not losing more than just half a toe. So stay with us right here on the Heart of Innovation. Don't go away.
Leg health can indicate.
You'll notice in the chat, if you guys pull up the chat, you'll see 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Yes.
Know that we have to. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
Assistant who flags it for me.
Yeah, okay.
I'm too much.
She can just kick you because you're right next to each other.
May not feel
I never like to cut anyone off. I mean, I didn't even know 13 years in a wheelchair. You've got to be kidding me.
I'd like to add something startling to that. 24 months before that, he had 3 heart attacks.
Yeah, I
That
remember you
was,
said that.
so that was so ideally, he should have been told 24 months before, or if not earlier, at least
But
24
then,
months when he had a bypass, when he had 2 stents, he should have been warned then. I don't think he should have, it shouldn't have progressed from CVD to PAD.
but then, oh my goodness, you're on your feet now. Like, how is it? It seems like your health has drastically changed, and I'm curious the difference in that. So you get diagnosed. Have you had revascularizations? I mean, A1C is more under control, so you don't have to worry about it.
Surprisingly, sorry, I'm just going to take that. Even post PAD, post the losing of the toe, I don't think that you have doctors who are
30 seconds.
calling
shoot.
you in
John,
for.
you want to take us back and get into all of
Yep.
that?
Yep, guys. So we're going to go. We got 30 seconds. I think what I'm going to pivot to is I'm looking at our question list here, probably question 3 a little bit quickly, and then let's go. So that question 3 will get us into the technology and innovation because I really want to spend some time with that. Is that okay, guys?
I teased though that the wheelchair. So can you address that?
Oh, okay. All right. So
And
let's
how we
do like
got
30.
to like some.
Let's do like 30
Yeah.
seconds.
1220 KDOW.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kym McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Happy Saturday, everybody. I'm live in Columbus. Kym is live in San Francisco, I believe, and we're also in Mumbai with Alfred and Pooja. So let's continue our conversation because there's a lot to unpack here. But real quick, Alfred, you struggled with PAD on and off for 13 years. You were able to save your piggies, most of them, except the tip of one. Just, if you could, a minute or two. You're an innovative guy. In your mind, what's going through your head? Like, we could do better than this, right? Like, the technology's there. How is it that yes, I have risk factors. I developed diabetes. I have coronary artery disease. We know that about 40% of patients with coronary artery disease can have PAD. But when did you start to, you're sitting there thinking, okay, my gosh, I could have lost my leg. How can I translate this into some good? And how can I create something that can help people like me who maybe don't have the resources that I have?
Okay, so therefore I was questioning to the extent of irritating most diabetologists whom I met, and asked them, why is it that I was not warned about something like peripheral artery disease? How could I have avoided it? What could I have done? So nobody really had an answer. And all they said was, usually when it's too late, you come and we do what is known as an ankle brachial index test. So I said there has to be something very early, as simple as, and pardon me, people think I'm making it too simple, but all the greatest truths of life are simple. So I said it should be something like the weighing scale by the side of my bedside. It should be so convenient, accurate, and affordable. So why can't I have something like that, which will, if it is comfortable, easy, and accessible, people will check that often. So one of the first things that came to my head, it had to be a smart device, which would remove the subjectivity out of the test. Second, I said it should be simple to use, and third, I said it has to be non-invasive. Because even this small speck of blood that we take, after some time, we don't want to do that, even that, glucometer. So I said it has to be non-invasive. So this led me to a search, which took me to my office in Israel. And we went on looking at every laboratory, chose the internet, and wanted to know if there's anything that existed in this realm. And that's where we found there were 2 IPs that existed on what I learned for the first time, the second heart of the human body, which is the calf muscle. And they said that the calf muscle is very sensitive, and there was an IP that could record the variance in the temperature based on the capillary blood flow. Now that got me thinking. I said, if there is any kind of blockage that is building up or has built in the arteries, it would reflect in the capillary blood flow. And if we could, in between while the muscle is being simulated, whether it is walking or exercise. And if that did not translate into a proportionate increase in the blood flow, it means we have a blockage. And that led us.
And so
Sorry.
I'm curious. So, we know that a lot of diabetics, they can have a capillary problem and or an artery problem. So yours just targets the capillaries, or does it ultimately then expand into something grander to test the arteries? Because you could have the diabetic foot and not necessarily have PAD.
Very good question, Kym. Please understand our objective was early detection and screening. Okay, so the idea was if the capillary, by testing the capillaries, we are able to very quickly, easily, and affordably check that there could be a problem, then you can investigate further. How bad is it? Where is it? Do further tests, including what you call the 2D echo,
Yeah.
or color Doppler. Expensive, time-consuming tests. So ours is a very quick, fast, reliable, non-invasive screening device.
So just to add to that, to answer your question, we are a first-line assessment tool, and we do look at the arterial blood flow. So we do that, and that's where we're leveraging the calf muscle as well. So we do look at
right,
that.
right, because the arteries and the veins ultimately connect at the level of the capillaries. So you can kind of work your way backwards there.
Yes.
So interesting, very interesting. So then how did you take this concept and then actually pivot to realizing that this could detect alterations in blood flow, potentially then arterial occlusions, and then turn it into a concept that actually is a device that can be, that has a, you've got to make, well, let's answer that question, then I've got a follow-up too.
So what we did was we took this IP that basically, could check variation in skin temperature, very minute variations, basis capillary blood flow. We built a prototype and then did extensive tests to be able to build an algorithm. Ultimately, an algorithm is to see in various genres of people, whether it is age, whether various lifestyle habits, and be able to triage this test to be able to throw basically three signals. One, that it's a healthy foot. The other one is
limb, not just
healthy limb.
Yeah.
Healthy limb. Second would be a pre-pad. And third is that, okay, guys, you have a problem. There is a pad. Go check. Go to a vascular surgeon. Go to a diabetologist. Go to a podiatrist. So this is what we brought it down to, because the mission is to be able to detect early, screen early, and then measure the continuity in a very comfortable way. So right from the prototype to the device is what we did in a period of 5 years in India, in our research laboratory.
And so what I'm wondering is, with this test, like, what exactly does it look like? Is this a consumer brand? You said you wanted to be something by your bedside, or is this something that would be used by clinicians that you're giving? You're just supplementing the clinics across India? Because you're saying after they have the test, then they need to go to their vascular surgeon.
Okay.
But so I think
Pooja, go ahead.
I'm going to take a step back on this, which will give you a little context to our answer. While the ultimate goal is for this to be with the patient at the patient's bedside, that's where Dad envisioned this. We're not able to do that immediately because of two aspects. One is India as a country has a very reactive approach to healthcare. We're not very proactive. Second, awareness on PAD is very low. That said, there's a third aspect is that doctors do not have a first-line assessment tool that is affordable, that could bridge the patient-doctor gap, that is not operator dependent. And therein we decided that we will begin with it being through the doctor. So the patient comes in probably for maybe if someone's coming in for a bad tummy, and when the doctor knows, so he's at a general practitioner's office, and the doctor knows that this patient already has diabetes, or he knows his patient history, he asks him to test for PAD, which is not being done right now. So this addresses the low awareness, as well as the fact that once the patient tests, and if he is in, say, a spectrum of pre-PAD, he then gets aware enough to test more often, should he require to do that.
Can I quickly add something else? At the offices, at the corporate level, there the education level, the accessibility awareness is pretty high. And nowadays people are all in front of screens. So they have very sedentary lives. Now we have made very good inroads at the corporate level, and they are willing to keep these so-called our devices in kiosks, where they encourage their workers to go and regularly test themselves on their own. So therefore, in that case, it is available, in the canteen, in the gymnasium, in the shop floor. As far as the corporate
This is incredible. I really want to find out just what their infiltration is in India with this new PAD testing device. And we will find that out coming up next, right here on the Heart of Innovation on KDOW. Don't go away.
3 years ago,
when I know Dr. Phillips is dying to get a question.
Oh my gosh. So I think based, Pooja, on what you had said, and then Alfred, you alluded to this as well, I think I need you guys to give us a minute or two about medical care in India. I don't think people that are listening understand or have seen what I saw, what you guys see on a regular basis with respect to just the chasm and the have and the have-nots. And it's not like you can just, actually text your doc, hey, I'm coming in, I need an appointment. If I remember correctly, when I went to public hospital in Chennai, people were waiting for hours to get in, and it's just different. So I think that's a really important point, which I think will amplify the need for a device such as this, or the ability to create changes within population health. Is that okay if we spend a minute or two talking about that?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because you've got how many billion people are in India?
How many?
1.2 billion.
1.2. Gotcha. And so, worldwide we've got 200. It's probably underestimated. There's 230 probably with PAD.
Yes.
And so
136 million pre-diabetics
in India, right? Because we have
and 177 million diabetics.
Right. Okay. Because we've got probably 19 million in the U.S. With 400 million people or whatever. So it's just an endemic too. And I imagine Indian people, from a coronary artery disease standpoint, have horrific coronary disease.
Yes.
When I cath somebody who's Indian, oftentimes they end up needing bypass because they have it's obviously there's a genetic issue too. So I think if nothing else, you raise awareness, and then you can even at least start them on, like you said, a statin or cholesterol medicine or whatever. At least try to push the tide back a little bit. So
that's right.
And if you,
this is only a 5-minute segment. Okay.
If you noticed, a decade ago we had sub 50 heart attacks. You saw the trend, and now the trend is moving to people who are sub 40. You see sub 40 people collapsing from heart attacks, and completely preventable, right? And cholesterol. So all of these are contributing factors. Of course, tobacco.
Yes, and I had when I went and saw one of the public hospitals, they showed me a cath lab, which I don't know that they necessarily wanted me to see it and it just speaks to the lack of resources, but in buckets, they were sterilizing, catheters and wires and balloons that we throw out. And I had asked the doctor about,
Thank you.
heart attacks, and they said a lot of people don't like to go to the hospital because they just are fearful, which is interesting. But so we've got 20 seconds. We're going back on here. So I'm just going to tease it back into just kind of a 30,000 foot view of kind of healthcare in India, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
.1220 KDOW. Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kym McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Let's get back into the conversation. And I wanted to get your all's opinion and actually enlighten us a little bit about healthcare in India. A few years ago, I was there helping launch a stent, and I was really taken aback by the chasm that existed between the haves and the have-nots, and how folks are often traveling long distance to see a doctor, and they have limited means. And I was pre-show, I was sharing a story about how the village chipped in to get enough money for a patient to get one of these stents. I mean, so there's community, but it's very impoverished, and I think it's really important if you could just kind of 30,000-foot view share with our viewers what it's like to be a person in India trying to get medical care.
So of course there is a huge patient-doctor gap, whether that is urban India or rural India, and awareness in both parts is very low. That said, there is now a lack of trust on specialists, because patients believe that they're being pushed into certain testing or procedures that may not be required. But there is a huge emphasis and a huge trust on what is a general practitioner, which here we call a family doctor,
Mm-hmm.
So patients across, whether it is in rural or in urban India, go to their family doctor for any and every advice, but may not specially go to a specialist, may not particularly go to a specialist for several reasons. Trust being the first, affordability being the second, third is a doctor in itself not being available depending on the part of the country we're looking at.
That having said, look at the other side of the table, Dr. John. The doctor is also so busy. Okay, he's like you said, there are queues of people waiting for him. That's where the innovativeness of our device comes in. While the patient is waiting, seated, even under a tree in a rural area, this test can be done. So the doctor's time is not taken up at all. While the patient is waiting for the doctor, the test happens, and over Bluetooth, it comes on to the doctor on his desktop, on his iPad.
On his phone, his mobile device.
So even before the patient reaches him, the doctor knows what the pad condition of this patient is. So that's where the innovativeness of our device has been built in. And the doctor needs not employ an additional person to do that, because it doesn't require medical training. And it is portable, so it doesn't take space in his clinic. You would have seen in rural India, if you went, the doctor's clinic is, what we would say, a little bigger than a telephone booth in the old days. So
it's interesting, because what I tell, so many primary care doctors here in the United States is, I don't understand. You sit there with the nurse prior to, or the MA prior to the doctor coming in. They put the little oxygen test on your finger. They put a thermometer in your mouth, and you have the blood pressure cuff. Why couldn't they have something on your feet as well as one extra?
They do. Now they do.
And now they do. And I think that's game changing. And so what is your infiltration there in India with this device? Are people buying into it? And what is the resistance that you're facing?
Let me answer the question a little back. Okay. In order to reach the patient, the government has a very successful model called mobile medical units. These are units on wheels. Okay, on trailer wheels. Now they go right up to the village or the village outskirts, and the top of the head standard is that each one of these mobile medical units has to cover at least 25,000 villagers. Now, from time to time, government gives them certain programs during epidemics for malaria, during periods of COVID. They were, pressed on all for COVID vaccines. Then they go on family planning programs. Now we are lobbying with the government, and they are wanting now, and we're almost there. We are getting the go ahead to be in 26 districts of our state, where this will be used on 50 mobile medical units. So irrespective of what the program is happening, PAT tests will be done. So it becomes almost a conditional test that happens on all of this, because the government has recognized that how pad will help diabetic and diabetic comorbidity patients.
Just as Kym mentioned, when you're getting your regular checkups, which is height, weight, BMI, all of that, pad dovetails into it to be a mandatory testing.
And coming up right here on the Heart of Innovation, we're going to have them, put them on the spot, have them share a few success stories and data points that demonstrate the impact of their technologies. So stay with us right here on the Heart of Innovation on KDOW. Don't go away. Dr. John Phillips, you know what I realized?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
What, Miss Kimberly McNicholas?
We didn't have a moment of inspiration.
Yeah, I know. I was kind of like, and I actually had a couple of quotes from Gandhi because I folded in India and all that good stuff. But that's all right. We can, whatever. It's all good.
Make space for that.
Yes, but I would like to ask you guys, in the next segment, to pretend. I'm going to ask you to pretend I'm a patient and walk me through the device. Like, do you have anything with you that you could show on screen or something along those lines? Because I'm going to ask you to, pretend I'm in a village somewhere and I want to get PAD testing using. And what's the name of your device?
Foot Plus. Foot Plus.
Foot, as in
Plus. Yeah, Foot.
FOOT.
Foot as in and plus. The sign plus. Foot Plus. Okay.
And I'm looking at it looks like you're supposed to have a website there, iivhealth.com, but Wix is telling us that there's what?
Recently, our website got hacked.
Oh, it looks like it's hacked because I couldn't get onto it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is down these days, and our cybersecurity people are actually building it up with all new kinds of firewalls and whatever.
Yeah, that kind of sucks because it has it, that says it's there.
Yeah.
But then it's not. That sucks.
I wish we could play
Do you guys have a picture? Do you have images of it at all? I would love to still. We only have 6 minutes. Oh, you have it.
Yeah. This is the device.
Yes. I'm gonna pretend to be a patient.
Device, yeah.
Yeah, and hold it in front of you so it doesn't key out.
This way.
But
oh, that is so cool. I wish you guys could get me one so I could use it.
If
you move it, there's a problem.
You have to, because if you show this, all it sees is a rectangle blue. You have to show that it is a device.
Okay, but then, because we have a background.
On the white.
All right.
Yeah, if you put it in front of your body, it won't key out or whatever.
Right.
There you go.
Okay, as long as you're able to do that.
This is the side. It is so small. That's it. It fits in your pocket.
It looks like a bar of soap.
Yes,
it's about the size of a bar of soap.
The size of a bar of soap. Yeah. And it can fit in your pocket.
So it's just got a sensor and 2 electrodes that go to it.
Just an on-off switch, and that's it. It talks on Bluetooth to your smartphone, and from the smartphone, it's connected to the cloud.
So I have to ask, because it's probably not free to make, you all have to have a return on this investment. How do you monetize this? Or we can talk about it. Are you comfortable talking about that on the show or no?
Sure.
Okay. We can talk about that as well. But I want you to pretend I'm a patient and you're showing me how to use it. That'll be awesome.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So we have a video but I don't think we'll be able to pull it up now, but we'll send it to you, Kym.
Put on the link. Yeah, we can certainly.
Yeah.
Because we've got folks this is live streaming on our YouTube channel. So thanks everybody, YouTube, listening, watching.
Yeah, we have such a great audience, and especially Becky is on there and she is engaging like crazy. I want to give a really nice shout out to her. And she says, please pretend you're Becky, Dr. John. So that's what she's asking.
Evidently, we're a top 2 female innovative podcast. So I certainly can throw a wig on and.
Yeah, Pooja, isn't that great? We were named the #1 woman in innovation podcast in the nation.
I love that.
Pooja is the chairperson of Asia Pacific's oldest and largest chamber of commerce.
Oh yes,
That's
that's right, because
incredible.
For women.
that's
Yeah.
part of that interview on project management, right?
Yeah,
See,
it,
I
it
do
you
my
know,
research. I do my
You
research
do?
here,
I'm
people.
impressed.
it would be great, Pooja, if you could even do a podcast on our YouTube channel, with and just people across India with both of you guys.
We'd
It'd be
love
fun with a father-daughter duo,
to.
to really engage with, do deep dives with the different doctors, highlighting them, highlighting patients, and live streaming through us. I mean, you can do it dual. You can do it on your YouTube channel and ours, or as Josh will say, you can share a playlist from our YouTube channel onto
I think
yours.
that would be nicer. And the thing is, we conduct health camps, about 4 or 5 of them every month.
30
So
seconds.
that would be nice to, sort of live stream from a health camp. So you see patients being tested, live.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be fun. And so, Dr. John, we have only 6 minutes in this one.
Yeah.
Jesus, this goes so fast. And we appreciate everyone who's watching online. My goodness, we got quite the crowd.
So this is segment. What are we on here?
4.
Ooh, segment 5.
AM 1220 KDOW.
4.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kym McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
All right, guys, let's jump right into it. So the device is called FootPlus, FOOTELUS, and Alfred is sharing that device on the screen with us. So can you guys walk me through? Pretend I'm a patient. Explain the device to me, how it works, the setup, all that good stuff, please.
Okay, Dr. John, we're going to do a PAT test on you. It's an absolutely non-invasive test. Be as comfortable as you can, seated where you are. We are going to just strap a Velcro band on your calf muscle. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to do nothing. And it will be connected to this device on Bluetooth. You won't feel anything at all. And in less than 8 minutes, we will have a reading that will come on your mobile phone, on your doctor's phone, and will remain with you as a digital medical record to find out whether you have do you have a healthy foot, or do you are pre-pad, or you are a pad patient, and a doctor will advise you accordingly. Our business model is very simple, that to the doctors, we provide this device free of cost. Like I said, again, it doesn't occupy space, which is very, very relevant to doctors in India, in small clinics. He doesn't pay anything for this. He pays us only when he does a test, and that too over the cloud. So therefore, only when he does a test, he is out of pocket, if I may say so. So until then, if he doesn't do a test, he doesn't pay us anything. It doesn't cost him anything to keep in his clinic. He doesn't even have to employ an additional person to use it. And while the patient is waiting for him comfortably on a chair, this test happens. So therefore,
Okay.
it is on a model, what is the software as a medical device.
Okay, so in the US, our screening tool, aside from an exam, is an ABI, cuff pressure tests in the arm and in the legs. So, hey, number one, what is the readout? You had mentioned, right, that it's variances in temperature within the calf muscle and then the capillary. So I'm getting a readout of some sort, and how does that readout correlate to an ABI, or what have you correlated this to or validated against?
Yes.
It does correlate, and we have done over 2,000 tests of various patients of various demographies, various age, of course, gender, and people who are obese, people who had diabetics, who are not diabetics, who are alcoholics, who are smokers. And after that, we have triaged it. Our firmware, our algorithm has triaged it to be able to throw up these 3 signals: a healthy leg, a pre-pad, or a padded.
So is it like green?
Add to that, we have the readout is in a graph and also a bar graph. And you have 3 colors. Okay, you have a green for a healthy leg, yellow for pre-pad, and red for a diseased leg. So, and that correlates with your ABI readings as well. But the two aspects to it, that there may be false positives or false negatives with an ABI that our device is able to catch. Secondly, the ABI requires the patient to be lying down. But with our device, you can be seated and you can be tested.
And so I'm
Amazing.
curious, are you going to publish any sort of data, or have you published
have.
data on this? Are you going to
We
do
have.
a formal study?
We
You
have. We
Talk
have.
about IEEE.
We have published a paper actually with Dr. David Armstrong, and that's in
IEEE Springer.
and actually this is, I don't think you can see it, but in Medical Health and Bioengineering, Digital Health and Medical Bioengineering journal. We have a second paper coming out.
Published by Springer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. So what are some of the success stories that really stand out for you? Because the success stories are the ones that really drive you and motivate you to continue to push for this.
I'll take one and maybe you can take another. So like, as Dad mentioned, we've been reaching out to raise awareness through different sort of health camps. And one of the surprising ones was a young, healthy 28-year-old boy who, out of curiosity, wanted to get himself tested, but didn't believe that something was wrong with him, and felt, he was very confident, just said, oh, I want to check this device out. And he comes in, gets himself tested, and both legs are red. Okay, which means he has PAD, 28-year-old, seemingly healthy, does not have any other known comorbidities. And the only attributable factor to this is that this boy works in IT, has a long hours desk job, that he sits at his desk for the longest of time, and had no idea that he had PAD and had cholesterol issues. And post the device testing, he went to his doctor and had got onto a medical regime to be able to reverse the results. So that's one for me.
For me, there was
That's amazing. And Alfred, you have about 30 seconds to share your story.
Okay, this gentleman, was an epitome of fitness. He said every day he runs 5 miles, he exercises, aerobics and everything. And when we did his test, he was shocked to know that one of his foot had a blockage. And he went to the doctor, did extensive tests and color Doppler and everything. He says, Alfred, thank you so much. I would have never thought that this was breeding in me and, a calamity about to happen. A guy was so, what is known as active in his life.
Yeah.
And coming up right here on the Heart of Innovation, we're going to hear next steps for Pooja and Alfred and IIV Health and PAD testing across India. Are we talking global expansion and impact? Find out next right here on KDOW in the Heart of Innovation. Don't go away.
How do I get my hands on one of these? Are you are you guys FDA? Does it have to be FDA approved? I imagine in the US.
Yeah, as of now, we are approved by the Indian authority, CDSCO, as we say. It's a Class B product, which means it can be sold across the counter. And we are now applying, as we speak, for a US FDA 510K.
Okay.
A fast track approval, which is already in process.
Yep. What's the predicate device?
There is no predicate device.
Oh,
so 510K is a predicate.
You can get it.
No, so the only other device that is currently being used is the ABI, as you mentioned. And then there is another smart tool that is being used to check the pulse. But what we use, which is, like we said, using thermodynamics and using your capillary blood flow, there is nothing currently available. So this is the first.
Not like the Biomedics. Biomedics has the PadNet device. No,
not here. No.
So our last segment is 4 minutes, and that goes by really quick. So we want you guys to have the last few minutes here. So I'll just, we'll kind of open it up next steps. I am curious though, what and the break may cut us off and we can chat afterwards. But so you bill the physician, and then the physician bills the patient if they have insurance, or eats the cost?
We keep it very simple. We have the physician maintains a wallet with us. Okay, at any point of time, there is amount of one test money, whatever is the test that we agree with the physician. Because depending on his practice and his consulting fees, the rates, we keep it very flexible. So at every time the physician pays us, he collects the money from the patient either through insurance or whatever. So we keep it very simple.
So right here, patients either get themselves tested at a lab, they go to an independent lab, or may, even if the doctor has the test available at the doctor or at a hospital. Each of these are being provided by either external service providers. So for us, we are, for all practical purposes, our customer is the doctor, even though the consumer may be the patient, the end consumer.
I see.
I'm curious how long it's going to take before, how long do you think before you get the device? Because it'd be great through us, because we're doing PAD testing. I know there are competing organizations that are doing this shit, but we're working with like BD, and we're working with a couple councils across the US to offer it, and at community clinics and healthcare fairs. So it'd be interesting to have that.
It would, yeah.
Okay, for the NHS in London, the European CE is the fastest that we will get. So we are looking at in less than 60 days to be able to get a European CE. For US FDA, it may take slightly longer, about 90 to 120 days. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce you to Lord Stephen Greenhalgh there and the NHS, because he wants to do a whole project called mylegshurt.com. His dad started Sharing Cross, the famous thing. And then also over there, Nasir Ahmad, who has one of the top limb salvage programs there.
We will appreciate
yeah, we would love to get in touch with them.
Very much.
Yeah.
I am going to put you guys on the spot for the last one and ask you what colors you get when you. I'm assuming you tested yourselves. So
yeah,
Alfred, I hope you're agreeing.
My right leg always shows red, as it should, because I have a damaged foot, and my left leg shows yellow. Limb. Yeah. Leg. In India we say leg. He wants me to use the word limb.
Ankle. Sorry.
Amazing.
So you know who's the boss.
1220.
No, and a big thank you again to all the people watching online.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kym McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Well, all good things must come to an end, and oftentimes I say, we're rounding third, heading towards home. That is a baseball analogy towards finishing a show. I don't know what it is in cricket, because that's obviously a huge sport in India, and those games can last for weeks, I've heard. So nonetheless, I digress. Alfred and Pooja, I'm going to ask you guys final thoughts, but before you get into them and next steps, I'm assuming you've tested yourselves with the device. What are we reading here? Green, yellow, red?
For me, my right limb shows red, which is acceptable because I have a damaged foot, and my left limb shows yellow, which means that I have to really take care of my lifestyle, and I am on statins already. And
does that correlate? Does that correlate to an ABI, a value of an ABI on that?
Yes.
Okay, very good. And Pooja, you're green, I hope, right?
I am green. Yes, I am green.
Green is good.
Green is good.
What is next? What are the next steps for you? We're talking that you are expecting to expand globally, and you're already starting the process in the US. Also, I hear the NHS as well.
Yes,
that's right. As of now, we are approved by the Indian authority, CDSCO. So therefore, all the neighboring countries, SAARC countries and ASEAN countries, they respect CDSCO. So we are immediately moving on to these regions like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Indonesia. Then when it comes to NHS, we are immediately have applied for European CE, which should take about 30 to 60 days for us to get that endorsement, to our Indian endorsement. And for the US FDA, we are looking at something like 3 to 4 months to get the regulatory approval for that. And
But this
obviously,
isn't
we are
the
expanding
only
globally.
but this isn't the only device that you're working on. You have a wide array of targets. Can you
Yes.
just in the last couple minutes here walk us through some of those?
Our immediate objectives is to get a scanner for the eye without dilating your pupils to be able to scan your retina. This is to help towards diabetic retinopathy. Then we have diabetes also end up with hearing impairments. So for very early detection of hearing. And we are very, very concerned about diabetics getting into nephrological issues with the kidneys. So we have a simple urine test, very, very affordable test on the smartphone to check the albumin and creatinine ratio without, it's a non-invasive test, a urine test. And we have a lot of NCD kits, non-communicable disease kits. So when in any of the camp, therefore, we are able to holistically map out the diabetic patients.
So it's
I just,
basically you want to
yeah.
have all detection for complications for diabetes in a box and with a little bow for every single family care practitioner.
That's right. That's right.
And it's, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. What you're doing really epitomizes why we do this show. I mean, we're innovating, we're reaching people at the far corners of the earth, ultimately to help the human race get better and stay healthy and have a great health span. So thank you so much for joining us. We truly appreciate it. We have to get you back on the show at some point.
Thank you for having
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you, Alfred. Make sure you look them up on LinkedIn under IIV Health, and you guys are going to get your website up very soon as well. Thanks everyone for joining us, especially those of you on KDOW and online.
With Emmy award-winning journalist